Hello everyone, hope that you all are doing great. So by the thumbnail you might have got to know that we will be making a two-step verification module for our web application. But before jumping to the video context, let me request you to please like, share and comment on the video, and also please subscribe the channel as a lot of research is required to oversimplify topics and then represent it to you. Please, I request you to subscribe and share video among your contacts. So now let's jump to the context of the video, that is two-step verification. There are many types of two-step verification that exists. Like if we take an example of a mobile application where two-step verification could be a fingerprint sensor other than your pins input, password input. Fingerprint sensor could act as a two-step verification for your apps. And then if we take an example of a debit card, their two-step verification implementation is that you will input the CVV first, and then after inputting your CVV, in the next step you will get an OTP on your registered mobile number. Then you will enter the OTP and then submit it. Then only the verification has been done and your amount has been debited from your account. So that is a debit card two-step verification. So in today's video we'll apply two-step verification on our web application. So when the user will log in after inputting its email ID and password, then on the next screen the application will ask for the OTP. The OTP that has been sent to the registered email. When the OTP is entered by the person, then only the verification of the application is done and the dashboard of the application is shown. So now let's start with the code part. So let me take you to the IDE and let me show you the project structure of two-step verification. And let's first take the let's first discuss the packages that I have made. So the first package is .config package, where we'll have Spring security configurations. Then we have our controller package where we are doing the controller part, all the mappings in the application. Then we have the DAO layer for repositories, DTO for data transfer objects, and any helper class or anything if we want we can make it in this package. Then model package is being used for the entities, the tables that exist. So the tables that we need for this application are only user and role. Role and user mapping is already been discussed previously, right, in the Spring security section and in also the bus reservation video. I'll put the links in the description for that. And then we have the service package where we'll be implementing our custom user detail service, right? So the user detail service that is being provided by Spring, we'll be implementing our custom layer over it. So that's in our service package. So first let's start with the config package. Let me open the Spring security file. So in the Spring security file you can see that what all we have done is that we require the password encoder. So we have used the bcrypt password encoder here, and then we need our authentication, DAO authentication provider. So DAO authentication provider is actually the which is actually making an auth object for a user detail service, right? And further it also checks the all input fields are correct or not, and everything is being done, and authorization object is being set with the user details, right? This user detail is a object of a default user detail service, right? So then we are setting the password encoder as password encoder, right? And then we have our authentication manager, which is returning us an authentication manager object. Then we have our filter chaining, right? Filter chaining object, filter chaining bean is being used to tell that what all mappings exist in our code, and what all URLs or what all mapping would be permitted, and how the flow of the application work. Like when we log in, when we register, how after registering where the application should address, after login, after success of the login, where the application should go, right? So all those mappings are being covered in the security filter chain. So this was it from the Spring security file. We'll cover the custom success handler later on this video, right? when we'll be discussing about the flow of the application, then we'll come to custom success handler. Right, now let's go to the controller part, and now let's run discuss the code through full run up of the application. Right, so the application lands on slash registration. Right, slash registration shows you the registration page. So now in the controller part, what we have done is we have taken a model attribute of user, which is taking us a user registration DTO. Right, what is a user registration DTO? It is a kind of replica of a user class. Right, so we have made a user registration DTO to make a data transfer object, right? To use a data transfer object rather than using the entity. So we have made a DTO. So now in the get mapping, we are returning the register HTML as the registration page. Now when the user enters all the details on the registration page and clicks on submit, it goes to this mapping, the post mapping of slash registration, where we'll get our user registration DTO, and then we have to save the user registration DTO to our user object. So how we are doing is we are taking a user service object, right? Default user service. We have taken the user service object, and we'll go to the implementation of the method. So let me take you to the implementation. This is the implementation of the method. So what we are doing here is we are firstly using the role repo to find the role by user. The role type is of user. We are not talking about admin here. We are just making a small module. So we have taken one entry in the role table, that is a user role. So we are finding that role in the role entity. So we have the role entity as well. So here what we have is the ID and the string role, right? So here we are fetching from the role repo that find by role, and we are inputting the user role, and then we are constructing our user table here, user object here, by setting the email, name, password and role, and then by using user repo we are saving the object, right? We have made the repo CRUD repository we have implemented, and we are calling the save method for that, and we are saving our user object in that. So as I have shown you the user registration DTO, so you can also see the user class as well. Here we are taking the ID, name, email ID, password and set of roles, and also int variable of an OTP, right? This I'll tell you the working of this later in this video. So setting up of roles from grant authority, these things are already been covered in the previous videos. I'll put the links in the description so that you can get the reference that how we set the role and how we fetch the role from grant authorities, right? So as we have covered the registration module, we have shown the registration HTML on the screen, and then we have submitted our details. The user object has been saved in the database, and we have saved the user, right? Now now we'll be redirected to the login, right? When this is success that our object is being saved in the table, then we are redirected to the slash login. Slash login is the login controller, right? So let me take you to the login controller. So here in the login controller you can see that slash login, and then what we are making is we are making a model attribute of a user. Here we are using a user login DTO, right? User login DTO is again a data transfer object where I am taking a username. This is kind of an email and password and an OTP, right? So in the login controller, what we are doing is in the get mapping we are returning the login HTML, right? When we register the object from the registration HTML, then it has been redirected to slash login. So slash login will display the login HTML here. So when we put our email ID and password in the login form, and when we submit it, it goes to this post mapping of login, where we'll be getting input of user login DTO which have the email ID and password. So a method from user service is being called, that is load user by username. So when the load user by username method is being called, it fetches the user from user repo using the find by email. So in the user repo you can see that I have extended the JPA repository, and we are calling a method find by email, right? So here we get the user object, then we check that okay, user is not null, then we have to return the user details object. Checking of password, that the password is correct or not according to the bcrypt password encoding. Uh, the email ID is correct or not. All these things are being handled by this method, right? Load user by username method handles all the things, right? So now after this, right, after our email ID and password is being correct, right, now what, now we have to apply the two-step verification. So where it should go, right, if we say that okay, it goes in this method, after this method the success has been returned and directly dashboard should be returned, right? But we have two-step verification within it. So how we'll apply the two-step verification? For that, let me take you to Spring Security again. So now you can see that in the mapping, like for the login page, we are saying /login has been called and login process is also /login. But after permitting, we are also using success handler, right? What is the success handler is? It tells us that after these calls, the previous calls of /login, where it should head, right? Where it should go. So we have to write some custom success handling logic. Said okay, after /login, where it should go and what all operations should be performed further. So we have taken a success handler object here, right? We have imported the authentication success handler, right? So now authentication success handler is provided by Spring, and we have also written a custom authentication success handler here, right? Let me take you to that class as well. So here is our custom success handler and we are implementing authentication success handler, right? So here what are we doing? You can assume that okay, after load user by username, success call of that method, it will land into this method on authentication success. So here what we are doing is we are taking out the user details from authentication.principal, and then we are getting the email ID, and then we are finding that user from that email ID, right? And then what we are saying that okay, our password and email ID is correct. It is already been verified in the previous method. So now what we have to do is we have to generate the OTP and send the OTP to the user on the registered email ID, and also we have to persist that OTP into that user, into the user table for that particular user entry. So let me take you to generate OTP method. So the implementation of generate OTP method is like we are generating a random number, a 4-digit number. This would be random, not a single time the number would be same, right? So a random number is being generated. First what we are doing is we are as we are getting the user object from the previous call, so we are setting the OTP into it and we are persisting that OTP in the user table first, and then we are using simple mail message to send the mail to that user, right? Mail has been already almost 2-3 videos have been made where I have covered a lot of different types of emails to send, so you can go and watch those videos, right? I'll put the link in the description. So here we are sending a simple mail. The sending mail is being this, and send to the mail would be sent to the user.get email, right? What all what user has entered here. So the subject and the text, and then we are using Java mail sender to send the mail, right? And here I'm returning just a string here. So if the string type is success, then what is the handling done in custom success handler is that okay, I say that if the output of this call generate OTP is success, then I have to redirect it to /login/OTP verification call. So where is that /OTP verification call? Let me take you to the login controller here, right? So it says /login/OTP verification call, right? This call. So it lands into this call, right? And then what it returns is it returns an OTP screen HTML where we are adding some model to it, so an attribute to it, and then we are returning the OTP screen. OTP screen is the OTP screen HTML where a field would be displayed to enter the OTP and submit button would be given to you, right? Now when the user inputs its OTP and submits it, Now what? Now we our two-step verification process is done, right? We have checked the email and password. We have checked the OTP. We have to check the OTP, right? Now OTP is being input by the user, and it clicks on submit. It lands on slash OTP verification post call, right? So here we are getting a OTP, user login DTO, right? I have taken the user login DTO. You can even take a single string as sorry, int value as well. So in the user login DTO, I have now we what we have to do is we have to check that okay, we have persisted that OTP that we generated in the previous call and the OTP that has been input by the user. So we have to check that both those OTPs are equal or not. So I've checked that if condition. If that they are equal, then we are redirecting it to dashboard, right? Slash dashboard is again the dashboard controller, right? I'll take you to that controller as well. And if they are not equal, then we have to show us error message that okay, the OTP entered is incorrect, right? And we have to return the OTP verification screen again where we are inputting the OTP, right? Where we have also given a link to click and we can redirect it to the login page again, right? So this was the code part. Now let me first take you to the dashboard controller as well. So what we are doing in the dashboard controller is simply we are handling the slash dashboard call, and we are finding the user by the email ID, and then simply we are returning a dashboard HTML. You can simply understand this way, right? So this was the dashboard controller. Now custom success handlers, Spring Security, all the controllers, then the DAO layer is being covered, right? DTOs are being covered and model is being covered, right? Model is user and role, right? So now let me take you to the HTMLs as well. Let me show you the HTMLs as well. Then we'll have a run through of the application. So HTMLs are simple HTML. Let me show you the HTMLs as well. So let's start with the registration HTML. It's a simple HTML kind of a form I have displayed, right? Where we are getting the input from the user, right? Email ID, password, name, and all those things are being taken from the user, and the submit is being provided to the user. Now let's go to the login HTML. It's also a same display of the form where we are taking the input as email ID and password, and then we are taking it to some controller mapping from form. Then we have the OTP screen, right? We are taking just a single field where we are getting an input from the user as OTP, and then a simple dashboard HTML where I have written some statements in H1, H4, just that, right? Nothing in the dashboard HTML much. So this is the code part is now covered. Let me now give you a run through of the application by starting up the application, right? So let me now run the application, right? So let me go to the main class of this project. Let me open this and let me right click and say run as SpringBoot application, right? So let's wait that it starts, the server starts. It's getting started. Yes, one more thing, as the server starts, let me also show you that the properties files, right? As we are using the database and we are connected to Postgres database, so let me show you the application properties as well. Let me open it. It is not giving me a chance to open it. So okay, let me show you this also, that this is my database connected, my username, password, and all those things, and my email ID and password generated is also being added here. So these are my properties that have been added. So now as our server is started, let me take you here. As our server is started, let me open the application, right? So let me open the application. Let me say localhost AT/registration. So okay, it has taken me to a registration page, right? So let me enter name Raman Java gmail.com. This is my email ID, and then I'll say Raman @95. Right, I'll say register. So now after registering, my object has been saved to the database. Now it has redirected me to the login page, right? So let me log in now here. techw2022 @gmail.com, and password was raman @95. So now as my email ID and password are correct, okay, it says my email ID is not correct. Let me check again. techw2022 @gmail.com, and password is raman @95. Log in again. So now my input was wrong. My email ID or my password was wrong at that moment. So it showed me a message that either password or email ID entered is incorrect. Now as my email ID and password was correct, so a OTP email is being sent to my particular email ID, and now it has also directed me to the OTP verification URL, right? So mapping, right? So now it is asking me to enter the OTP. So let me go to my email and let me see here that you can see that okay, your login OTP is 9854. Please verify, and regards as ABCD. Leave these things. Welcome to my channel is the subject line. So now the OTP is 9854. Now if I enter the wrong OTP, what it says is 1235. If I enter, it says OTP enter is incorrect. Please enter the correct OTP. Right now, if I enter the correct OTP, what was the OTP? It was 9854. Right. So if I say 9854 and if I submit it, so it has redirected me to the dashboard. Now dashboard says my name and says that welcome to my channel, please subscribe. I request you all to please subscribe the channel, and the logout button is being given. So let me click on the logout and our application will get logout. Right, we are on the login page. So this was the run through of the application, right? So that was it from this video. Hope that you people like the video, and please subscribe the channel if you are new to this channel, and also please share this video among your contacts though, so that the knowledge could be shared and the channel could also grow, right? So this was it. So I'll see you in the next video. Till then, happy learning.